Welcome to your next GPS and literacy lesson year 4. So today we're going to have a look at front adverbials, so making sure we are punctuating them correctly as well. So just to recap, an adverbial is a word, phrase or clause that is used, like an adverb, to modify a verb or clause, so to change a verb or clause. Adverbs can be used as adverbials, but many other types of words, phrases and clauses can be used in this way. When adverbials are used at the beginning of a sentence, they are called fronted adverbials. So remember, a phrase is a group of words. A clause doesn't always make sense on its own, so we will be having a look to decide. So we've got some examples here of fronted adverbials. I'm going to underline them so you can see. So we have got sleepily, the tiger yawned. Once per week, the milkman delivers 2 pints of milk. Feeling frightened, Freddie ran back home. Okay, now this is giving us more detail because if we look here, these parts of the sentence are the main clause. They make sense on their own. The tiger yawned. The milkman delivers 2 pints of milk. Freddie ran back home. So the bits here, they are giving us extra detail. They're telling us extra information to show us how something is being done. So the milkman delivers 2 pints of wheat. We've got 2 pints of milk, It's given us the extra information. We know that's happening once per week. Freddie ran back home. We know that he's feeling frightened, so something must have happened. Now it could have said, hungrily, Freddie ran back home. So we know that he was hungry. He was going home hoping for something to eat. It could have said, excitedly, Freddie ran back home, but by telling us feeling frightened, it's showing us something extra about the character or the sentence or clause. So, now, just a reminder, we need to look for the part of the sentence which makes sense on its own, and remember the front adverbial always comes at the beginning. So first of all, we're going to decide whether they are correct or incorrect. Now remember, when we use a comma, we take a slight pause, don't we? So when you read these aloud, you should be able to tell if they are correct or incorrect. As soon as she could, Vera picked up her book and began reading. Do you think it's correct or incorrect? Okay, you should have decided that was incorrect. So let's have a look where our comma should be, and I want you to do this too. So let's have a look. So first of all, let's identify the main clause, part of the sentence which makes sense on its own. So I have spotted here that, choose a different colour, Vera picked up her book and began reading. That makes perfect sense on its own. So I now know that the comma needs to go here. Okay, as soon as she could, Vera picked her book up and began reading. So this is telling me when. It's an adverbial of time. It's telling me when she has done it. Let's have a look at the next one. In the distance, Joe spotted a football. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. So let's have a look which part of the sentence makes sense on its own. Okay, I'm going to say here, Joe spotted a football. That bit makes sense, doesn't it? So now I know my comma for my front adverbial must go here. And this is an adverbial of place, so it's telling us where. In the distance, comma, Joe spotted a football. Right, let's have a look at the next one. Last Friday, Year 4 were able to come into school in non-uniform. Does that make sense? Let's double check first of all. So the main clause I can identify as here, Year 4 were able to come into school in non-uniform. That makes sense on its own. And this is telling me when, adverbial of time, last Friday. I've got my comma in the correct place. So we know that these ones are wrong, but C is correct. Unfortunately, Osas had forgotten his homework. That doesn't sound right, does it? So I'm going to identify the main clause again, the part of the sentence which makes sense on its own. Osas had forgotten his homework. So I now know the comma needs to go here. Unfortunately, comma, Osas had forgotten his homework. Last one, let's see if it makes sense. Let me just show that this one is incorrect. Tired and demotivated, Anya still tried her best to impress Miss Gilmore. That one makes sense, doesn't it? Again, let's just double check. I can see that the main clause is, and Anya still tried her best to impress Miss Gilmore. Tired and demotivated is the adverbial. Well done. So, your next activity, you are going to add the commas after the front adverbials. So I want you to pause the video now and I want you to complete it, and then I will go through the answers with you. So remember, identify the main clause first. You can underline that if it helps. The front adverbial, you know, is going to be at the beginning. It's giving you extra description about what is happening. And you need to put the comma in the correct place. Okay, let's have a look. So I'm going to add the commas in very, very quickly now, just so you can check if you've got them correctly. Baffled by the mathematical problem, comma, the professor felt frustrated. Under the bridge, comma, the misunderstood troll waited patiently for his goat friends. Once a year, comma, the people put on their costumes and parted at the carnival. Before the holidays, comma, the Year 6 pupils had a farewell celebration at their junior school. Almost certainly, Eva's team would win the upcoming sports day. So I know that I have added them in the correct place, because when I have had a look at the main clauses, I can see these make sense on their own. The professor felt frustrated. The misunderstood troll waited patiently for his goat friends. The people put on their costumes and parted at the carnival. The Year 6 pupils had a farewell celebration at their junior school. And Eva's team would win the upcoming sports day. Well done. Okay, so for your literacy lesson today, you are going to use everything you have just learned about fronted adverbials, and you are going to write some of your own. Now, we've done something similar in class with a dice, haven't we? So we've rolled a dice, and whatever number we land on, we have written that type of sentence. If you've got a dice at home, great. You could make some cards from 1 to 6, or if not, you can just choose a number. So, you could use an ing word. So, stumbling, comma, the timid boy ran from the giant as quickly as he could. You could use an adverb. So remember, an adverb usually ends in ly, but not always. Lazily, comma, he stretched his arms out towards the remote control. You could use an ed word. Exhausted, comma, she began completing her never-ending homework. You could use a simile. As strong as a mountain, comma, he faced his fears once more. A preposition. Between the rock, comma, there grew a tiny plant. Or the last one is a choice of your own. So I've done an example here. I have done an ed word. So I've done excited, comma, the greedy boy explored the chocolate room looking for anything edible that he could find. Okay, so I want your sentences again to be based on the chocolate room. And this is going to help us later on with our task in the week.